dear learners, welcome to today's learning session. I'm Faculty of English at SRN International School, Jaipur. In today's session, we are going to learn about the academic writing in IELTS. So what it is and what tasks are there in the academic writing section. So the writing section takes for 60 minutes and there are two tasks to complete. So task 1, it is suggested that it is about for 20 minutes are to be spent on task 1, which requires candidates to write at least 150 words. And task 2, this task requires at least 250 words and should take about 40 minutes. And task 2 contributes twice as much as task 1 to the writing score. The responses must be given on the writing answer sheet and must be written in full. Notes are not acceptable as answers, and responses to both tasks must be written in an academic or semi-formal or neutral style. Test takers may write on the question paper, but this cannot be taken from the test room, will not be seen by the examiner. Next thing which you need to keep in mind is that what is the criteria for these two tasks. Now, criteria 1 is that how appropriate, how accurate and how relevant your responses are in fulfilling the requirements which are asked in the task. And the second criteria is the coherence and the cohesion in your task. And the third criteria is the lexical resources. And the fourth criteria is the grammatical and the range of accuracy. Let's talk about task 1. In academic writing task 1, it has a defined input and largely predictable output. It is an information transfer task that related narrowly to the factual content of the input data or diagram and not to the speculated explanations that lie outside the provided diagram or data. So this task requires a minimum of 150 words in length. That means you have to give a descriptive detail of an illustration or a process diagram or a pie chart, bar graph or a line diagram. Now task 2 is, in both academic and in general training, task 2 requires the test takers to formulate and develop a position in relation to a given prompt in the form of a question, or it could be a statement. Now ideas should be supported by evidence and examples and may be drawn from both the test taker's own experience. So here you can write, you can mention your viewpoints or your opinion, but remember in task 1 you are not allowed to mention any of your opinions. Now in task 2, test takers are penalized if they don't cover all of the points in the question. Responses must be of at least 250 words. So I hope task 1 and task 2 of the academic writing section is clear to you. In today's video, children, we are going to discuss about the IELTS writing task 1. What is it? What is an overview? What type of questions would you get and how you are going to attempt these questions? So let's start. So this part of the IELTS exam is intended to test how well you can. That means we're talking about task 1, organize your ideas, respond appropriately to a task, use a range of grammar and vocabulary with accuracy. Remember that I've already discussed the criteria of assessment for this particular task. So this is the purpose of the assessment of this particular task. Now, why you need to do this? You need to look at one of the following things. That means you might get a table, a graph, a chart, a map, a process diagram, and describe what you see. You must select and report the main features, making comparisons, making the relevant comparisons wherever necessary. Now, if you look on the screen, it's written that 150 is the minimum number of words which you are required to write, but don't go far over, and 20 minutes is the time which you need to spend on task 1. Now, you might think, children, that what you need to describe, what would be the examples like? So let's have a look. So here is a sample task 1 question. So let's see how the questions are framed. You should spend 20 minutes on this task. The line graph below shows changes in the amount and type of fast food consumed by Australian teenagers from 1975 to 2000. Summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main features and make comparisons where relevant. Write at least 150 words. So this is your task question. Now followed by this would be the line graph which accompanies the question. So you can see that the consumption of fast food by Australian teenagers is the main topic sentence, along with the line graph which clearly states red line for pizza and red line for fish and chips, blue line for pizza, and the green line for hamburgers. And you have x-axis and y-axis showing the year from 1975 to 2000 and number of consumption. So basically your question would look like this. The question will appear above and the graph will appear below. So your task 1 question would be seen like this. Now here are some more examples of line graphs. This could be one of your question. So you have straight lines, you have curved lines, you have those frequency lines. Now pay attention to the key features when you are analyzing the question. That means the title of the question. As in this particular picture, we can see that wheat exports from 1985 to 1990 in millions of tons. This is your title. Then you have units mentioned here from 0 to 30 on the left hand side. Then you have 2 axes, x-axis and y-axis. Then you have legends or keys mentioned below your diagram. And then you have lines, different lines. It could be, the color could be different. It could be 1 line, it could be 2 lines, it could be 3 lines. It could be a straight line, it could be a curvy line. So these are the key features you need to pay attention to. Now here are some other examples. This is how your pie chart question looks like. This is how your bar charts look like. This could be maps where you need to give a description or relative comparisons. This would be a process diagram. You can also get mixed questions where you have bar graphs and pie charts, or a process diagram with a tabular form, or a line graph with a bar graph. So you can get a mix of this also. You can also get flow charts. Now, what to do and how to answer these questions. So we have clearly understood that these are the types of questions which we get in task 1. So you will always be required to describe what you see. You should report the main features as I've already described, which are the main features, right from your title to your axis, to your trends, to your lines, to your whatever the color combinations are given there. So you have to take care of that. So you report the main features, look for trends and make comparisons, and don't describe everything, just the important areas, and don't add anything extra or your personal viewpoints when you are describing task 1 of the IELTS academic question. Now talking about the structure of task 1, which is very simple. So first is your introduction paragraph. That means in this particular area, you're paraphrasing the question and describe the general trend. Paragraph 1 would be, where you're describing some of the important data, and paragraph 2 where you're describing the rest of the important details. Now there are many ways to group the data. Pay attention to trends and categories in your question. Now, what are you going to describe? Whatever is important, that is to be described in this particular question. Remember that everything need not to be mentioned here. So you might observe highs in your question. You might observe the declining trend. You might observe some significantly low trends. You might observe some marginal trends. You might observe some sharp rises or sharp or drastic falls. So these things you have to analyze first, and then you have to describe in your answer. Now, the next question which you all must be thinking of, that how to describe. So when you have identified the key features, when you have identified the trends and analyzed the trends, you need to choose which to include and prepare a structure for that. So to structure this, you could describe one line for each paragraph, as there are only 2 lines. So for this particular question, you can see that there are 2 lines, the line in red color and the line in blue color. So first would be the introduction paragraph where you're paraphrasing the question. Then the second paragraph describing your line with the red line, and the second paragraph would be your line or description about the blue line, and then the final paragraph where you're summing up and summarizing the trend. Now, next question you all must be thinking is how to describe. So the appropriate language has to be used here, children. These are some of the words which I have mentioned here, but in my next session, I'll be giving you an elaborative vocabulary which you're going to use for task 1. So let's have a quick view of some of the describing tense. So verbs to describe rise would be, you can use jump, you can use grow, you can use climb, go up, increase, rocket or skyrocket. 2 verbs to describe low trend would be fall, drop, decline, decrease, go down, plunge and plummet. Now adverbs to describe how. So these are some of the adverbs like sharply, quickly, rapidly, steeply, considerably, significantly, substantially, steadily, gradually, moderately, slightly and slowly. So these are some of the vocabulary words which you can incorporate in my next session, part 2 of task 1. We would be discussing this in detail. Now, some notes which I would like to give here is that line graphs are the most common, but pie charts, tables and bar charts are also frequently included in your task 1 question. Maps and process diagrams and flowcharts are less common, but sometimes they might appear, so be prepared for them also. The language required for all of these is slightly different. And always when you are attempting task 1, use formal language and avoid the usage of personal pronouns or the informal tone. So personal pronouns like I, you, we, she, etc. should be avoided, because remember in task 1 you are not giving your viewpoints, but just you are describing the trends of that particular question. So with this we end up our today's video. I hope you all understood that what your writing section in IELTS would be, how many tasks in the academic you have to attempt, what is task 1, what is task 2, and in today's video you have clearly understood that how your task 1 looks like and what are the approaches to describe this particular task. The same video would be continued as part 2 video, where we would be talking about the vocabulary which is used for task 1 question. So till then, I hope you would be revising each and every concept. So get ready for the next part. Till then, take care of your health, stay healthy, stay fit, respect your elders and obey your teachers, and shine on in whatever you do in life. Bye-bye. Take care.